Quick Bites Media podcast. Quick Bites Podcast Media.
Here we go.
Episode number 28. What do we got on the agenda for today? How's Dan doing, by the way?
Dan's doing great.
Dan had surgery.
Post-op fun.
Blew his ACL out. Just running rampant.
Actually, it wasn't his ACL.
Oh.
It was his meniscus, which is actually
weak.
better because
Weak.
if he would have actually torn his ACL, they would have had to cut his bone and restructure it, the joint.
Oh.
But they only had to actually it's the same surgery I got this summer, so they only had to go in there and shave it off.
Scope it out.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
it
Dan's
was
doing well.
and it was like $1,200 cheaper, so that was nice.
That's really nice.
Yeah, so
Full-blown ACL would have been rough
yeah,
for a dog. That's just wild to think about.
yeah. So, I mean, we can talk about whichever one here. We could talk about the TCU one since that was most recent.
Oh,
you
yeah.
want.
So what do you think about... Are you a college football guy?
I'm not really a college football guy. I think I watch more NFL football than I do college, but I was keeping up a little bit with it because Bree's dad's big into it. So when we were there, we were watching it like all week.
Like all the weekends.
I was at Topgolf watching it, and I was like, something's not right. Like I looked up there in like the third quarter, and I was like, 35-7.
So TCU's had this great run. You know, it's like a non-Power 5 school. I mean, Boise State beat TCU years ago. But it's kind of like a Boise State making it all the way to the national championship. You know, they've had a great run. It's fascinating to me. I never played football. I did for like 2 years growing up, but like have no context of the sport besides like watching it and being a fan, spectator. But I think it's terrible for the brand of college football what happened. And what's really sad is within the first 5 minutes of that game, there was like 2 plays that were just a little bit out of reach for TCU. There was this like option pass, I think like the second or third down of the game, where it missed the receiver's hands by like 6 inches. Like the quarterback for TCU just barely overthrew him, and that would have been like a 40-yard gain because there was no one around him. And that would have, I think, changed the dynamic. Sports is so momentum driven that when someone gets on top of you and just keeps pushing you down and wants to step on your throat, like what Georgia did, it makes it hard for a school that is a little bit unmanned to overcome that. And so to me, it was kind of disappointing because I wanted to see them put up a little bit better of a fight. And I just think right out the gate, the ball just didn't travel their way in the first few drives, and then they were just kind of defeated the whole entire game. And it's hard to get out of a hole when you're playing that good of a team in Georgia. So it's interesting. I think it's bad for the brand of football because now everybody's like, well, why didn't Alabama or Michigan, or Ohio State, things like that.
That last Michigan game was also crazy. But yeah, no, like I said, I wasn't really just like fully watching the game, so I wasn't really watching the plays and all that execution on that side.
Yeah, you're just checking the score between swings.
Yeah,
Top
and I
golf.
was like, all right, we got like a 40-point deficit, like probably nothing
Let's
much.
just turn this thing off by now.
But yeah, I was hitting some dingers, so that was fun.
How was Top Golf, by the way? Was it busy?
Good. I mean, it was like a 20-minute wait.
That's
Platinum
bad.
membership.
Platinum membership. Look at this guy over here bragging about his platinum membership.
Thanks to Blake.
No.
All thanks to Blake. But no, it's seriously nice. But you know how they like bring you clubs?
Yeah.
She brought me this pink bag. I'm like, come on, lady.
You actually go for the upgraded clubs.
Well, they always ask.
Riley's totally that guy that brings his own clubs to Top Golf.
I'm not. I don't bring my own clubs. I'm not that guy. But I mean, they're like Callaway's. They're not terrible. The drivers. The only thing, their tees are so short.
It's a rubber tee too.
Yeah,
Catches
yeah.
the driver.
And I'm like,
You can feel it.
I feel like the club I can hit best at Top Golf is like a 3-wood.
Yes.
I can rip a 3-wood at Top
That's
Golf.
the best.
But
have you played like golf holes at Top Golf yet?
yes, me, Bree, and her dad did when we were in Arizona last, and it was actually really fun.
Yeah. It's
like-
fun because they like converted putting to chipping.
Yes.
And chipping is like the worst part of my game. So I'm like, maybe this is going to like help me get better at chipping.
Especially at the end when you're like putting. And like you have to make it literally in the middle to get like a birdie or a par, and it's like, oh shit, and then
Yep.
you totally miss it. But it's fun. Do you want to talk about CPI data? I feel like that's something we always talk about, but
Yes.
do you?
Yeah.
Take it.
CPI data came out this morning, bright and early.
I guess it is Thursday. What was it? I actually didn't even see it.
Riley, where have you been this week? I feel like Riley's just like.
I worked all day yesterday. I did all my taxes yesterday for last year, so I'm ready to go. I'm actually waiting on like TD Ameritrade to give me my tax papers so I can finish my taxes. But
Usually you don't get those till like February.
Yeah,
So
no, I know.
That's the worst part about tax season is like when you're ready to do it, you can't do it yet.
yeah. But
Get all excited, get ready, but you can't do it yet because you're missing one document.
so are these numbers correct, or are we going to get bagged on?
No, these numbers are correct. Riley, we are getting bagged on a post on TikTok because the whole clip wasn't posted. It was just a short clip
was a
where I was
blurb.
talking about ChatGPT and I was speaking regarding that their storage space. Yes, I understand that Microsoft owns a percentage of ChatGPT. They want to invest more money in them. But what I was speaking to is that AWS is like a server farm and like all of that data has to go somewhere. So the cost of it to run ChatGPT was roughly $3 million a day. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less today.
People were saying it was $3 million a month,
It's $3 million a day.
and that it's stored on Azure.
Yeah, which is Microsoft's cloud
Yes.
platform, which
Yeah,
competes
so-
with AWS.
We're still
So
gonna wake up
CPI
tomorrow.
data came out this morning, 6.5%.
Okay. When was the
So
last time they released it?
It was projected to meet, based on all of the big banks that submit their projections, their median, which is the middle number, not just an average, was 6.5, was what they wanted to have it, expectations, and it came in at 6.5.
Okay.
So I think we're getting better at that.
Is the market ripping today?
Market's doing all right. It's good. Yeah,
okay.
it's just good.
Steady.
It didn't. It's going down. So even though we met expectations of what we thought it was going to be, we are trending downward now. We've got 2 months now in a row of decrease in inflation. I think that's a positive thing. I read something interesting this morning in regards to inflation that the metric is calculated on like a 2-year scale. So the data that is collected in these percentages that get released is on a 2-year scale. And next month is the first time that we're ever going to only take data from the following 12 months.
Okay.
So
is it
and I
gonna
don't know
be higher?
how much truth is to that, but it could be really interesting to see how that data is reflected and how some investors might not know some of the intricacies. I mean, it's all a fugazi.
Yeah.
It's all a fugazi.
Yeah.
What do these numbers mean? I mean, the price of eggs and the price of milk have gone up at the grocery store. We all know that.
I just grab it and pay for it.
But the prices of used cars is going down, which is good.
Which one of my buddies resold like 3 cars last summer and made like $7,000 between the 3 of them.
Wow.
And I was like, used cars market last year was like,
It was ripping.
those used
Then
car lots were
Carvana
like,
was like, yeah, our car vending machines aren't working anymore. So what are we going to do with all these used cars? That's the stupidest idea ever. Let's build these buildings and people are going to buy cars and vending machines. No, we actually want to test it out before we buy it.
kind of a cool idea, but I don't really know how that.
What do they do with those buildings? How do they repurpose that? 12-story strip club? Glass box?
Big ass aquarium,
Let's hear from you guys. What
strip club aquarium.
what should Carvana do with all of their existing buildings if they go bankrupt?
So, do you think are they like?
Oh, they're headed there big time. I mean, think
I
of
thought
the
it was a
business
car
model.
rental service.
No, maybe they do have a rental division. I just know that
We need to do our
basically,
research more, Blake.
yeah, they're
So 6.5. I was gonna say something. Oh, but like even if inflation comes back down to that 2% that it is supposed to be at, like prices don't go down, right? Do our wages have to just catch up to the market prices of like eggs? Are eggs ever gonna get cheaper, or are our wages just gonna have to get higher?
that's a great question. I don't know. I think what
I don't think I've ever
comes
seen-
into that is like, the steady inflation rate is always like 2 to 3%. Like that's the goal of, but like I said earlier, like this is all just like the smoke and mirrors of like data,
Yeah. And they're like, I want it to be this.
Yeah, and it's so manipulated, and then there's so many people out there that are like, okay, well, let's pull out like tech, let's pull out this. Okay, well, what is the real number of inflation for these different sectors and things like that? I think coming out of COVID with all of the money printing that took place, all the supply chain issues, we're just trying to navigate this new reality of a larger money supply and potentially less goods and materials that we've usually had. So I think that is also a little bit of the spike, is these supply chain issues came a year and a half basically after the money printing. So for example, COVID, you get a stimmy check, everybody's assets went up. Maybe you sold your house or you refinanced it and you pulled $100,000 out. Sweet. The new Ford Lightning dropped and they're selling 30, 40 grand over MSRP. You have the money that day. So you're placing that order, but guess what? The truck isn't coming for 12 months. So when that truck arrives on your door and you put a $2,000 deposit down on your 120 grand truck, you're not closing that deal. So then all of a sudden now that we've kind of had this pump of inflation and money supply increase, all of these assets that you own have increased in value over the last 3 years. Stocks are obviously down right now, but I think it's just all this, like, it's a big game, and where it's headed, I think, is more of a level playing field of asset values coming down a little bit, inflation hopefully coming down a little bit, and increasing wages to a point to like have a little bit more level playing field of livability. What do you think?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, how much money they printed, I mean, like, if it was at scale, like people's 50 grand salary should like be 200 grand. It'd be the same, because of like how much they put out there, and quote, it doesn't have to be that exact number, but just that sense of like, all right, well, they put so much more money into our economy that these median salaries are just like unrealistic and outdated.
Right.
But it'll be interesting. Like, I haven't really lived through, I mean, I was alive in 2008, but I wasn't like interacting with the world and buying shit and having a house payment or rent.
I think we can officially take, no, I'm not going to say that yet. I'm close to getting comfortable saying and officially taking a really bad recession off the table.
Off the table?
Yeah, as in like, I don't think we can get there, because something would have to break in like the debt and equity systems that is pretty sophisticated. I mean, if you look back at 2008, like there was a lot of things going wrong, mortgages being like just given away.
Well, yeah, there was.
And once that broke, I mean, there was a huge downfall of, it took 2 to 3 years to get out of that. I don't think we're in a recession right now, and it started, late last year.
One, it's like, what actually defines a recession? It's not always like some dark depression. You're eating graham crackers forever, like
rice and beans for dinner.
But yeah, it's just like decreased GDP growth quarterly, right? Or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's like
much
2 quarters
in a row.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think we've been there for what, 3 quarters?
I think so.
Something. I don't know. Regardless, like, Jake and I interviewed some people on the street, and this dude was like, I'm still getting paid, but I don't like the cost of gas, eggs, whatever. Gas is coming down though.
Yeah, gas is definitely coming down. That's
gotta get that Walmart Plus subscription. I'm paying $3.19 a gallon.
Is that guaranteed or like?
Yeah,
talk me through it.
It takes 10. I mean, if you run the numbers, it's not really worth it unless you use the full membership, because you're paying like $10 a month.
Is this kind of like Amazon Prime but for Walmart?
Kind of so. So like, you can actually go to Walmart with this subscription, scan everything you put in your cart, and go straight out to your car and bypass all the checkouts if you just scan it with your phone. And then it just charges you when you click finish shopping. It'll just charge you, which is cool. Free delivery on groceries.
Do I have a story for you?
Oh man. What? Go for it.
In college, I had a case study that I had to come up with an idea and a concept. And my idea was basically Amazon Go stores, Amazon Fresh stores, before it was like live. Obviously, people were working on the concept, but basically you had an iPad strapped to your shopping cart, and as you were going around, boop, 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 put your shit in your cart, and then you just grab some bags and exchanged it. And I mean, we had the technology, and look, now it's coming out. Yeah. Dating back to my other really good idea when I was in like 3rd 4th or 5th grade. I forget exactly which grade. I won like an entrepreneur, like a creative project or whatever it was, like I even forget what it was, but basically I came up with a concept for when you're driving around eating your French fries, a holder that would hold your fries and your sauce
On the steering wheel?
nope
Or
just in the like the plastic cup that they put the fries in
Yeah.
had like a lid that would open up and your cup hold and your sauce would sit in
When
the
you're in 5th grade?
like 4 or 5 years later it showed up at the Burger King chicken fries. And I was like,
Blake.
you know, we got really far down the patent road actually with my parents. And then the guy that was going to license it and help us with it was like, all right, we need like $1,600 and then we're going to really do this thing, patent, like the design, all of it. Parents are like, it's kind of a lot of money.
They'll look back, they're like, shit.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, man, we could have sold it to Burger King for so many ideas. But what that speaks to and what I want you guys to take away from that is there's so many good ideas out there.
I have a notes list.
All about execution. All about execution.
I have a notes list that I could scroll.
So pick 2 or 3 things that you're really passionate about and invest the time. And what is really important about that I think so many people misunderstand is how well you market a product. So Riley, how do you market a product? How important is marketing?
Marketing it was always important. So like when Apple would do their keynotes or what, I don't know what you would call them, when they announce the phones and they have this whole event, right? Like they always marketed those really well and everyone was always tuned in. And like before these, like there was marketing, but it wasn't as innovative as it is every day now. So it was like newspaper, the mail, you would have email, whatever. Right. But like now it's, all right, you're getting an ad on your Snapchat stories when you're interacting with your friends, not random people on the internet. So it's everywhere. But when it comes to like businesses that aren't Fortune 500 companies and can't spend 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month on marketing, it's actually even more important because at that point you can just play the algorithm in the system and you're guaranteed results pretty much.
Right. And you have enough manpower, you have enough money to be like, oh, what's our cost per click?
But,
you know?
But now, so we had that whole Facebook ads era and cost per click and CPM, all the algorithms and stuff. We had that era of where that was all really efficient and it worked and it was worth your money. Now people are stepping back and they're like, all right, it's $30 a click and I might not even convert this person and I want 1,000 clicks a month. They do the math like that's not worth it.
Right.
So now it's like, let's go hire a creative and post a TikTok that gets 700,000 views and we convert 3 people, 4 people, and you're selling a $10,000 product, whatever it converts. So it's like spend 30 grand a month on marketing, for like paying for it, or spend 5 to 10 grand a month on marketing and have endless opportunity.
Right.
So organic marketing is going to be really big in the next 5, I would like to say 10 years, but marketing changes so much that I think 5 years is solid for now, just to like focus on that.
Yeah.
But organic video marketing is pretty much what I'm talking about. So like,
and that's one of those things I feel like the white space of marketing right now, and it always is obviously evolving and changing. There's always this trial period. Like when Google AdWords first launched, and like Gary and some of these other guys like got in super early, there wasn't enough data out there to actually really milk it, to really understand, okay, we got 20,000 clicks. How many of those converted? It took time to build that data. So we're now, when we're transitioning into this like social media marketing era, I think it's really hard to pinpoint, hey, if we get you 50,000 views on your video, we can guarantee 10 clients.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's going, because it will get to a point, I feel like, that you can pinpoint that exact metric of,
I see what you're saying,
per 1,000 views, we can guarantee 1 client. And that's where I think in marketing, like, since it's always evolving and changing, like you have to be up to speed about testing and trials of these new opportunities.
And also the issue there is like, it's all up to the consumer. So like, you don't know if they're going to convert. You don't know if they're going to want to, but like, if you do things properly, then it is. I just watched the Alex Hormozi podcast yesterday with Graham Stephan, that finance dude.
Yes.
You know who that is?
Yep.
Him and
Graham's
Jack.
my guy. I used to listen to all of his shit
Iced
like
Coffee
2
Hour.
years ago when when I would mow the lawn. It was like the perfect
funny.
pod.
So I watched that one yesterday just because I was at home doing nothing. And Alex, actually, no, it wasn't even in that podcast, but I'll get back to that one. But he made a video about the frozen yogurt industry because he was going to go into that before gyms.
I saw that this morning.
Did you watch it?
No, it was just on my YouTube. Like,
so
Rolodex.
he was talking about how frozen yogurt shops revolutionized like sales and business because they put all of the eggs in the consumer's basket. So if you're paying more, it's because it's by weight and you added more. So you're like, he did the example of, I'm a fat ass. Why am I getting this much versus damn, this place is really expensive because you had the choice
to choose how
doing
much.
that much.
Yeah.
And he was just like doing that. And I was like, that's just a crazy way of thinking of it. So it's like, if you set up like psychology is really big in sales and marketing.
So I want to speak to that for a minute. Okay. So the ice cream industry in defense or
I know a little bit about it.
Yeah, I know a little bit about the ice cream industry. How come all the frozen yogurt shops are gone now?
Yeah.
If it was such a great idea.
Yeah, well, he was talking about how he was like, you've seen them all go bankrupt or whatever, and I wasn't paying attention to that part as much because I wasn't as intrigued. But he had a reasoning for it. But he was like, the ones that are still
grew too fast. That's the thing.
Yeah, probably. But he was like, the ones that are still going are XYZ, doing great, whatever, because they're like still innovating. I think it was just like copy paste, let it sit, and then it was like, shit, why is it dying?
Well, I think like to speak to that concept, which is really interesting, is like it's a consumer's option to have more or less.
Yeah.
But okay, what is your loss on all of those materials sitting out? Well, then you give more options. You've got 50 items that you can put in your freaking
like
ice
toppings.
cream bowl. You know, how much waste are you going through of that versus, some ice cream shops that are traditional that have been around for a while. Oh, well, we only have like our 5 options you can put on your ice cream. And so there's less of a loss there.
Oh, for sure.
So that's what I think that played into the fact of a lot of these frozen yogurt shops dying out. And then on top of that, from a real estate understanding, they were starting to go in prime real estate spots. And, what it really comes down to is the franchisees and operators. And I think that so many people miss that in business is it really comes down to the operator. Yeah, these business models show that they can print money, these franchises, things like that. If you think that you're just going to buy into a franchise and hire someone to run it for you, good luck. If you find someone good enough to do that, they better have some ownership because their blood, sweat, and tears. All the franchises that I've worked with, the only successful ones are the ones that are hands-on. Yeah, if you think you're just going to hire someone and stay hands-off, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
so that's what I think happened to the ice cream world.
Unless you've trained them for 10 years next to your
side.
side.
And like I said, have ownership.
Yeah.
Because we all are incentivized by something, and not only money, but like the value that you could stick on something. So like general managers that operate in these franchises, I think they need to own 10% of the company because they want to see the upside in their hard work. They
don't want to come clock in and out every day and not feel like there's any progress. Humans are very like momentum and growth driven.
Right.
And so like, we don't want to just like be monotonous in what we're doing and be like, okay, we're meeting quotas, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, how do we innovate?
Right.
How do we meet more quotas? How do we change the quotas? How do we like make more shit happen pretty much in a sense? And I think that's like if those managers are incentivized that they're more willing to get creative and bring in more business.
Right.
And reinvent the wheel. One of the quotes my grandpa always told me that I always remembered was never be afraid to reinvent the wheel. Like,
I like that.
And that is so true in marketing because when everybody's doing the same thing, the trends, all that stuff, like do something different. Like don't do that. Great, it works, you'll get some views, awesome, but there's no value there because everybody's doing it. Yes, everyone can do it. But like you really gotta like step back, and at the end of the day, it's like an equation. It's like knowledge plus value plus what did you say? Execution equals
positive results.
Extra valuable content. Like,
Yes.
So it's like every time we film a video, we're like, all right, how is someone watching this and maybe taking away value from it?
I know. I did that with Charlie yesterday. I was filming something and I had to do 2 or 3 takes of it because I was like, after I finished the first take, I was like rewatching it in my head and I was like, that's not very valuable. Let's shoot it again.
Yeah.
Thinking of the end goal in mind. And I know I talked to you about this a lot. Like try and strategize about what you put in effort wise, energy wise, because you want a result out of it. So what is your goal? And that's kind of like reverse engineering the end goal of like, are you trying to get more views on your Instagram? Are you trying to get more like followers on TikTok, or, like trying to generate more sales? Like whatever you put in, you're going to get out, but you need to strategize about what you're trying to get out before you put all the effort in, I think.
Yeah.
So for business owners out there, what's your best advice for, let's say, small businesses, less than 10 employees, 2, 3, 4 locations looking to grow their marketing presence? How would you mentor or advise them?
Off the bat, get your face in front of a camera. Who's behind this brand? Who are you? It doesn't have to be professional, cinematic. Just literally get on there and be like, I'm Blake. I own KZB Real Estate. Start talking to me, because I want to know what KZB is, who's behind it. Granted, if I need KZB's services, great. But if I knew who's like really behind it, then I'm going to be so much more incentivized to actually partner with you and work with you.
Right.
Just start posting video content. I know a lot of people get analysis paralysis, and they're like, well, I have to come up with ideas, and it's going to take a long time to film, and I want it to be perfect. And just literally post a video. If let's take, for example, Wells Fargo advisors across the hallway here. They probably,
I don't even know what they do.
Yeah, they're probably some like wealth management.
Yeah, I tried to look it up and I was like confused because Wells Fargo is such a big company.
So it's like, all right, what do you do? Like, that's the first video. And it's hard when you're that business to think of like that too, because you're like, everyone knows what we do.
No, they don't.
Nobody does. Really, you have to think that nobody knows who you are and nobody knows what you do, even if people do. So just start making content. Get in front of the camera, start making content. Those are the first 2 steps. Then we can talk about making your content better and making your content more valuable, and then like adding all the pieces together to make it the most successful marketing strategy for your business, because it's different for everyone.
So would you say that like one of the top things that businesses can do right now in their marketing budgets, plans, is to be creating videos and distributing those videos?
Yeah. Don't do any more print marketing. I'm going to come out here and say it.
Woo!
I know a lot of older people do look at that stuff. I mean, I got like a Papa John's
Let's
coupon.
hear it. Everybody roast Riley on that, because I think print marketing has its place.
Okay. Which I am getting to. I think the ROI is less positive than if you were to just go straight organic video marketing, because like I used a Papa John's coupon that I got in the mail 4 weeks ago. So it's like, all right.
Did work.
Yeah. So, but I already knew about Papa John's. I already used Papa John's. So if you take a business that nobody has any idea about and I get a coupon for them, so it's kind of like bringing awareness to who you are, what you do, why should I use you versus your competitors. Marketing is pretty simple if you break it down.
Yeah.
People get really scared by the strategy and optimization and running campaigns, and it's just fancy words for letting the big businesses just be able to do it and not you, because it's confusing. It's kind of like the stock market.
Take your money.
So, where are we going with that? So, I mean, honestly, if you're doing print marketing and you're struggling with like converting, I would focus on organic video marketing, hire a creative, or don't, figure it out on your own. Search other businesses in your industry in different areas. See what they're doing, if they are doing something. If you're in an industry and aka commercial real estate, and nobody's really doing anything, gold mine right there. Jump on it and start creating. Everything's vertical. Everything's quick.
Yes.
Amazon has video and vertical now, I guess. I haven't seen it or interacted with it yet.
We'll have to test it.
But that's you just have to capture attention. And what are you doing?
I gotta go to a lunch meeting.
Oh, is it 11:45? Yeah. Sweet. All right, there we go. Start your marketing, people.